The Las Vegas Raiders took Fernando Mendoza with the #1 overall pick in April, signed him to a 4-year contract worth $57.27 million, fully guaranteed, and then told him he was not the starter. Nobody does that anymore with a quarterback taken first overall. Every other franchise in this position hands the offense over in week 1 and lets the rookie learn on live ammunition. Las Vegas went the other direction on purpose. On Thursday night at Allegiant Stadium, the first real evidence arrived about whether that plan is working, and it pointed somewhere almost nobody looked. Mendoza went 10 of 16 for 97 yards with a touchdown and no interceptions against the Arizona Cardinals. The throw everybody clipped was a 19-yard strike to Malik Benson into a window between 3 defenders. NFL.com described it as coming off under center play action, then added 4 words that reframed the entire night, just how Clint Kubiak drew it up. ESPN's Ryan McFadden reported that Mendoza took 5 snaps under center across 3 college seasons. Then he ran that offense for most of 3 quarters. The defense was a separate story, and Arizona spent the evening proving it, with their quarterbacks combining to go 26 of 30 through the air for 3 touchdowns. The one genuine bright spot on that side of the ball came from a player no team drafted at all. Meanwhile, the Raiders committed more guaranteed money this offseason to a player who never touches the football than most franchises spend on a starting quarterback. And the division they are walking back into is not the wall it was 2 years ago. If you want the honest version of where this team stands, subscribe, because this breakdown gets updated every week from here to the opener. Start with the number everybody quotes. The Raiders finished 4th in the AFC West at 3-14, tied for the worst record in football, and won the #1 overall pick on a strength of schedule tiebreaker over the Jets, Cardinals, and Titans. That record is accurate. It is also generous to them. The shape of those 3 wins tells a different story than the total does, and once you separate them out, the 2025 Raiders look considerably worse than a 3-win team. Do the arithmetic. 1 win came in week 1 at New England, before anybody knew anything about this team. 1 came at home against a Tennessee club that finished with the same record. The 3rd came in week 18 against Kansas City by a score of 14-12 after the season was long gone. Strip the bookends off the schedule, and Las Vegas went 1-15 from week 2 through week 17. They lost by double digits in 9 games and were shut out twice, including a 31-0 loss at Philadelphia in week 15. There were 3 root problems underneath all of it, and they were not equally weighted. The first was the quarterback. Geno Smith threw a league-leading 17 interceptions and took 55 sacks. The second was the offensive line in front of him, which helped produce a rushing attack averaging 77.5 yards per game. The third was a secondary that helped push the defense to 25th in points allowed. The offense ranked last in the NFL in both total points and total yards. Let me be fair here. That is not a roster with one flaw. But now let's actually walk through how the season went, because the shape of it matters more than the record does. Things opened well. The Raiders beat the Patriots in New England in Week 1, and for about 6 days the Pete Carroll hire looked defensible. Carroll was 74 years old, the oldest head coach in league history, and he had told anyone who asked that this team would win a bunch of games. Week 2 brought Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, and that loss started a slide which never really stopped. By early November, the staff was coming apart from the inside. Special teams coordinator Tom McMahon was fired on November 7th. Offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, hired months earlier as the highest paid coordinator in the league, was fired on November 24th following a 24-10 loss to Cleveland in Week 12. NFL Network reported a lack of cohesion in the coaching offices. Carroll had never fired a coordinator in season across 14 years in Seattle. He fired 2 of them in 16 days in Las Vegas. The losing streak reached 10 games. In Week 17, the team shut down Max Crosby with a knee injury, a decision Crosby reportedly disagreed with in strong terms. Then came the finale, a 14-12 win over the Chiefs that snapped the streak and, through the tiebreaker, still delivered the first pick. Carroll was fired the next morning, 17 games into a 3-year deal. Owner Mark Davis announced that general manager John Spytek would run football operations in close collaboration with minority owner Tom Brady. The departures started at the top, and they were not gentle. Carroll left after a single season. Kelly and McMahon were already gone by then. That is an entire offensive philosophy stripped out of the building in under 12 months. And given that the offense finished last in the league in both points and yards, it is difficult to grade the removal as anything other than necessary. The harder question is what it cost to learn that lesson, because all 3 hires were made in the same offseason. The roster moves were sharper than the coaching ones. Geno Smith was traded to the New York Jets, ending a reunion that produced the worst starting season of his career. Receiver Jacoby Myers was traded to Jacksonville. Both deals returned draft capital rather than players, which tells you exactly how this front office viewed the 2026 timeline. Edge defender Tyree Wilson went to New Orleans in a package that brought back a 5th-round selection, and Charles Snowden was released, which opened a roster spot that becomes relevant later. Grade the departures honestly, and they fall into 2 groups. The Smith and Kelly exits were corrections of decisions made 12 months earlier, which is an expensive way to learn something about your own roster. The Myers trade is the one carrying real cost, because it left a young quarterback without an established number 1 receiver, and nobody has replaced him yet. Pro Football Rumors noted the Raiders will likely need to find a true number 1 wideout by 2027 at the latest. That bill has not come due. Now let's go ahead and talk about what they brought in instead, because this is where the money went. The most important arrival was the coach. Kubiak came to Las Vegas after calling plays for the Seattle offense that won Super Bowl LX, and he brought offensive coordinator Andrew Janocko with him. The defense went to first-time coordinator Rob Leonard, who moved the unit into a 3 and 4 base front. That is a full schematic teardown on both sides of the football in a single offseason. Here's where that $81 million went. The Raiders signed center Tyler Linderbaum to a 3-year deal worth $81 million with $60 million guaranteed, the largest contract handed to any free agent in the league this offseason. Linderbaum is a 3-time Pro Bowl selection who has missed 2 games in his entire career and has posted a pass block win rate of 96.2% since 2022. A center never touches the football except to snap it. He is also the position that matters most in a wide zone offense. The rest of the class went at the front 7 in the middle of the field. Kwity Paye signed for 3 years and $48 million. Quay Walker signed for 3 years and $40 million. Nakobe Dean for 3 years and just over $36 million. And receiver Jalen Naylor for 3 years and just over $35 million. Malcolm Koonce and Eric Stokes were re-signed. Kirk Cousins arrived on a deal the Raiders are paying roughly $11.3 million for 1 season. Spytek described the approach to Jake the Brick this way: I've learned to be patient, but when you need to be aggressive, you have to go for it. The draft ran 10 picks deep, and it was not subtle about its priorities. After Mendoza at number 1 overall, the Raiders used their next 2 selections on the defensive back 7, then went straight at the trenches with the 2 picks after that. Safety Trayton Stukes out of Arizona came off the board at pick 38. Edge defender Kieron Crawford from Auburn followed at pick 67, arriving with 6.5 sacks and 43 pressures in 2025, according to PFF. Crawford fits the new 3 and 4 front as a bigger end with a refined pass rush plan, though the run defense needs work. Guard Trey Zoom III from Texas A&M went at pick 91 after starting 50 college games and earning first-team All-Sec honors. Cornerback Jermod McCoy from Tennessee landed at pick 101, and that one carries an asterisk, because McCoy did not play a single game in 2025 after tearing an ACL in January. Running back Mike Washington Jr. arrived at pick 122. Safety Dalton Johnson, cornerback Hezekiah Masses, receiver Malik Benson, and defensive tackle Brandon Cleveland closed the class out through the later rounds. Make the case for the class, and it is straightforward. They solved the quarterback, added 4 defensive backs to a secondary that needed exactly that, and landed a first-team all-set guard in the 3rd round. Make the case against it, and it is equally clear. They spent premium capital on a corner, coming off a torn ACL, their edge addition projects as a rotational piece rather than a starter, and they did not draft a receiver until pick 195. That last one still bothers me. But now let's talk about the young players who have to carry all of this, because the core is genuinely young and genuinely talented. Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends in football, and he is still on a rookie contract. Ashton Jeanty enters year 2 behind a rebuilt line rather than the one that failed him. And Kubiak has already been lining both backs up in the slot and out wide during camp. Jack Besh caught all 3 targets against Arizona, converted 3 third downs, and scored the touchdown. Mike Washington Jr. broke a 53-yard run and finished with 6 carries for 63 yards. The player worth circling back to is the one nobody drafted. Sion Sloan signed with Las Vegas as an undrafted free agent out of North Carolina State, where he recorded only 1.5 sacks in 2025, but generated 40 pressures, according to PFF. He ran a 4.66-second 40-yard dash at his pro day. Against the Cardinals, he played 21 defensive snaps, finished with 3 tackles and a sack, and accounted for half of the team's sack total on the night. He was also the first name Kubiak reached for when reporters asked about undrafted standouts. A mailbag at The Athletic had flagged him back in the spring, noting he played with the kind of effort Leonard covets and had already earned reps alongside veterans, while other undrafted rookies stayed with the rookie group. Sloan is not going to start ahead of Crosby, Pay, or Coons, and he does not need to. He needs to make the 53-man roster, and right now, he looks like he will. So where does this leave the Raiders? Start with the honest hierarchy. Kansas City finished 6-11 last season and picked 9th overall. Denver traded for Jalen Waddle and still has Sean Payton calling plays. The Chargers under Harbaugh remain the most complete roster in the division. Las Vegas is not the best team here, and pretending otherwise in August helps nobody. But the gap between 4th place and 2nd place in this division is smaller than it has been in a decade. Stack the conditionals and it gets clearer, if the offensive line holds up. Jeanty produces the run game that makes Kubiak's play action real. If the run game is real, the quarterback position gets easier regardless of who is playing it. If Leonard's secondary survives the early schedule, the defense does not have to be good, only competent. The single biggest variable is not the quarterback competition at all. It is whether Linderbaum and that rebuilt front can protect anybody, because every other conditional hangs off that one. Here's the projection, and I want to be honest that this is the optimistic read. 7-10, with a real chance at 8-9 if Mendoza takes over by midseason and the line performs. Kubiak called Mendoza an ascending player and said flatly that the job is Cousins' to lose. Mendoza's own verdict was harsher. Unfortunately, I let my teammates down today. I think he starts before Halloween. Tell me in the comments whether you agree, and subscribe before the next breakdown drops.